Ayun, so, good day to each and everyone. I am Luis Magsana Bautista, and I'm gonna be doing the introductory part of Group 7 report, which is the middle childhood and their physical development. Next slide. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. So, okay. What are middle childhood anyways? Middle childhood refers to the children ages from 6 to 12, or basically the primary schoolers in America. But in the Philippines, we use elementary students. So, the first bullet says that the development of fundamental skills for effective social involvements. What we mean by fundamental skills for social involvements? This goes for the communication method and process of children to to initiate conversation with other people rather than their microsystem and mesosystem. um it also goes for the proper usage of words, basically like polite words, like in the Philippines here, po and opo. Also on addressing adults like Mr., Miss, manong, manang, something like that. In the middle childhood, experiences are also vital for the holistic development of the child. When we say holistic development, reiterate ko lang ulit, holistic means the whole development. It not only based for the intellectual capabilities of the child, but also physical development, which I will be discussing later, mental and emotional development, such as actually it's not that controlling, but they are more urged or aware of their emotional outbursts, so they can kind of control it in a way, diba? It's also spiritually, religion. They would be the experiences on church, for example, is vital for their development. Also cognitive, certain things happened, and other other times they will find the way to extract reasons on why that particular event happened. So yeah, when we say holistic, it's more than the children itself, but also on the factors that could affect their development. The third bullet says, retaining knowledge for future uses. We all know that middle childhood is always curious about their surroundings, diba? And acquisition of knowledge can be a great way or a great stepping stone for future uses, mainly on academics. For example, in the classroom settings, when the teacher is lecturing, the students gain knowledge, diba? And it will be retained or be accounted into their memory for future levels. For example, if your elementary teacher says that plants don't have cell walls, plant cells don't have cell walls rather, later in life, you're gonna think that plant cells don't really have a cell wall, and that's a fault that a teacher might say to their students. So it's like that. Whether the teaching experiences are exploited to the child, it will be retained into their knowledge and be used for future uses. So the fourth and the last bullet says that proper exposure on lively and open atmosphere leads to succession in life later on. When we say proper exposure, we are not only focusing on the positive side here. We are also inferring to the negative behaviors of the child that could be acknowledged and turned it into something good. So, okay. I remember a vlogger on Facebook. Her account is Mommy Julie. Um, in her contents, she always um infer or like explain the behavior of her child and what to do to make it um positive, you know what I mean. um when we say proper exposure kasi, um katulad nga sinabi mo kanina, it's not only focused on the positive side but also on the negative side. There is a video of her of entitled, what is that? Oh my gosh. Sorry. 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 So there is a video of her. I think it's emotional versus behavior. The attention that you're giving to them is not that focused or 100% enough for them to really take your attention. So they might do something that is inappropriate. For example, your mother is not listening to you, so you smashed her keyboard while she was working. Kasi ganun yung example ni Ate Julie or ni Mami Julie. So what we gonna do is to explain that you are doing something or the mother is doing something. The second one is address their misbehavior, and the third one is to give them some tips to have the attention of their mother. So that's what Mommy Julie said. Emotional and behavioral patterns are interconnected to each other. It's just that it might exploited in a bad or inappropriate way. So yun nga, open atmosphere, ito yung sinabi mo kanina, pag-acknowledge din ng faults ng bata and to turn it into something better or good. So ayun, with this knowledge, if they know that they are wrong and they are pursuing to do it right the next time, the succession in life later on would be much higher kasi they know how to acknowledge their mistakes. So ayun, on to the next slide. So on to the next slide, the developmental transitioning. What do we mean by developmental transitioning? Developmental transitioning is the accumulation of knowledge and experiences that will be substantially vital for the later developmental stages like adolescence and early adulthood. When we say knowledge and experiences, this will shape the children into various type of students, if you know what I mean. Maybe these experiences will make them more into depression, like the emo type of person. Another experience could turn them into something funny, or like a funny person or a joker inside the classroom, and so much more. So the experiences and knowledge could have a really great impact onto their development. The next slide would be the environmental exploration. Children are really into exploring outside the house, maybe like going to parks and such to find peers to play with. Um, Environmental exploration is very vital for the development of the children because when we say kasi exploration, it's more about communication with other people. Ganun yung para exploration ng mga bata. Also by going outside in their house, trying to explore with or communicate with other people. Sounded weird. um, by doing that, they could potentially have or get skills from them. For example, dancing. Whenever, let's say a friend knows how to dance and your child is curious, they would try to imitate their friends and showcase their talents inside their houses to their parents. Another example could be like playing some mind games like that bato pick and such type of games. The the outside exploration is turning their cognitive thinking into a much more broader cognitive thinking, if you know what I mean. Sorry for the dog. So, ayun, developmental exploration could also be a great factor to the development of the children because it's mainly on social connection with other people. I should say that, no? Yung dapat pala yung sinabi ko. So, on to the next slide, we have the middle childhood age of reasoning or age of reason. According to the CDC or the control disease, I did get that wrong, isn't it? Yeah, let's just call it CDC. Middle childhood gets into the point of age of reason a year or two after the development. For example, actually not example eh. sorry, I'm having lapses. So, teka, ayun, so, middle childhood, as I said earlier, it's 6 to 12 years old, diba? Age of reason comes around in the age of 7 or 8. When we say age of reasons, these are the developmental milestones that children usually have at this age, 7 or 8 nga. The first one is flexible thinking. When we say flexible thinking, it's about finding reasons to a certain event that happened. Not only on the primary causes but also for secondary, if that's how you put it that way. Let's say this for example, your father is stressed out. You're thinking of reasons why he is stressed out. For example, a child thinks that his father is mad because maybe it's tired from work, having some problems with the deadlines of his workloads and such. Other reasons could be that your father is disappointed rather on the outcome of your grades, which happens to be that exact date, diba? Another reason could be your mother, I don't know, maybe have a little bit of misunderstanding, and that's the reason why your father is a little bit upset or mad. So it could be a lot of reasons, and children tends to think that way. They are like seeking for other reasons to really know the exact reason of why that event is happening. Yeah. So the second one is self-awareness. It could actually be a support from their parents. Again, from Mommy Julie, because I'm watching her vlogs or contents in Facebook. Self-awareness is when a child is aware that she or he can do a certain task with the help of others or without the help of others. It's mainly rooted for the support coming from their parents. So if the parents says or acknowledge the efforts of the child, um child, the child could use it for their intrinsic motivation. If, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like intrinsic motivation for them to pursue some task to do. um Self-awareness, it's about like also self motivation in a way. It could also be inferred to self-confidence and like boosting of self-esteem, of course, by their parents, as I've said earlier. The third one would be understanding others' emotion. Dito na papasok yung parang katulad nga kanina, flexible thinking. When a certain person like close to the child feels not well, or actually in every aspect of emotion, whether it's, whether they are sad, happy, mad, disappointed, something like that. Children have have that feeling of like connecting to that person, diba? So sometimes if children feels that their parents is sad, they will always come by. Always. I am emphasizing it because I experienced that, and I do that to my parents before. When they are sad or when they are tired from doing house chores or on work, I would come to them and ask them if they're feeling okay. Sometimes I do hug them, and that's because I understand. At that age, I understand how other people's emotion works and how to empathize and sympathize with them. Number 4 is rational thoughts. Remember the report of Ate Ira, Jan Ira Consulta, the pre-consciousness? Is that the right term of that? Wait. Ayun, so I remember it. It's sorry for that. It's pre-conventional thinking process, which infers to the on obeying the rules, diba? So children at this age know how to balance two events and find out both of the reasons, and then decide if this particular event is more weighted or weightful, or mas mabigat na lang compared to the other event. Is that, and it's only basing on pre-conventional thinking process, kung nga sinabi ko kanina, if it's right or wrong, or if it does have a sorry for that, if it, yeah, forget about that. Sorry. if it's, something following the law, or um not following the law. Sorry, I have lapses. So the third one would I sorry. Yeah, sorry. The fifth one would be the internalized conscience. So when children are seeking for more attention and more things to, like, for example, bought for them, and the parents starts, like, kind of shifted into a different mood. They will feel a sudden conscience around, I mean, sorry, um conscience to them, to their brain or to their minds. What we mean by internalized conscience is that they are being they are guilty for something that they do, but oftentimes they don't want to apologize for it. It's more of like, oh my gosh, I should stop doing this because my mom is getting angry or getting into a different mood. I should stop this, but I'm not saying sorry. That's how internalized conscience works. It's the feeling of guilt, but you're not telling it to the person that that you made them feel that way. The last one would be the better handler of impulses. This goes for the earlier stages of life. Infants and toddlers have an early childhood, don't have that much capacity to control their emotional outbursts or impulses, especially in public. But in middle childhood, because there are some occurrences where when you cry, I mean when you cry, it will be a factor for other students to bully you. So it's kind of like a a negative impact because of, like, peer pressure, but it could also be a great factor for them to handle their emotions, diba? It's that. On to the next slide. And now we're going to the middle childhood and their developmental milestones. So when we see developmental milestones, these are the supposedly or supposed to be acquired skills that a middle schooler, or sorry, a middle childhood students, or like elementary students, should have or should know. The first one would be the school adjustments. When we say school adjustments, it's more of like obeying the rules inside the campus, um, obeying the rules inside the classroom, being silent when the teacher is lecturing, being not late or being not tardy for school, wearing proper uniforms and PE uniforms during the said weekdays of when they would be worn. Um, that. The second one would be the academical milestone. When we say academical milestone, we are not only referring to the child having having their names into the top list or an honors list, but it's more of like basic academics. For example, learning to count from 1 to 10, like for earlier stages, kanya grade 1, grade 2. But later in middle to late time, where middle childhood covers up into, for example, 9, 10, 11, or 12, they should know how to count from 10, I mean 1 to 100, or even 1 to 1000, if that makes sense. They could also do read their mother tongue language, and also read some words from universal language, which is English, diba? The third one would be socializing. Um, Students at this age expected to keep at least, keep more than three back and forth exchange of information or communication. What it means is like um having a conversation for a minute or so. They can um they can preserve that conversation and go on for another minute or so, diba? Ayun. Um Fourth one would be the language proficiency. Language proficiency is the, katulad na sabi mo kanina, if I said it earlier, is the proper usage of words for adults. For example, the use of po and opo and manong manang, ale, tapos such, diba? Language proficiency also connected to the storytelling of the child. Students, especially at this age and on the previous early childhood, they are expected to at least tell a story for their parents, diba? For example, what happened at school, what happened during this event, what happened when you go outside with your friends. They are most likely to tell it to their parents, the experiences that they've got and the learnings or the knowledge that they learned. It's that language proficiency. Fifth one would be the individual task. When we say individual task, this is the task or loads that a children should be able to do on their own. They are expected to do at their own at this stage, diba? For example, students are now capable of buttoning their school uniforms or polo shirts every time that they have to go to class, diba? Another one could be helping house chores or house chores. For example, having to wash the dishes, having to take a bath on their own, having to go to the toilet or the comfort room on their own, diba? They are expected to do that task individually. Wait, I'm gonna fix the camera. The last one would be the cultural understanding. When we say cultural understanding, it's on the term itself, understanding of their own culture at first, because they are not yet capable of holding too much information for diverse cultures and traditions. But on them, like basically watching their parents, like kunwari magdadasal, religion, kunwari having a budol fight every time that they go to province. It's like family tradition naman. They should have, they should be aware of that particular event and understand deeply on what does it do to their experiences and making it a good, yun yung pagpapagpag din, when you go to like lamay and such, magpapagpag ka, and that's a cultural tradition here in the Philippines where you need to pagpag to misdirect the ghost from coming into your house, diba? Yan yun. Um, yeah, and po and opo is also a tradition here in the Philippines to respect the elderlies. That's cultural understanding. So it wraps up to the developmental milestone um that they should acquire. But what about physical health? On to the next slide, we have the physical development. Physical development refers to the, of course, um, physical attributes that a middle childhood should attain or acquire. First one would be height. According to our module, um, throughout their true yeah, I'm sorry for that. Height, it usually contains about 3 to 6 inch of height. I don't i don't know if it's like every year or during that period of middle childhood, because adolescents have a really great impact to the height of children, diba? So I don't think if it's 3 to 6 inches every year or 3 to 6 inches throughout the middle childhood stage. Onto the weight naman, a child could acquire 4 to 7 pounds of weight every year. Every year yon. Both of height and weight naman, um there is a term called growth spurt, where like late middle childhood years, for example 11 and 12, some childs ano are maturing. Like sometimes girls do have periods na, and sometimes boys have their voice deepened na. So um growth spurt is like on the right pace during early to middle years of middle childhood. But when it comes to the late middle childhood stage, which is sabi ko nga 11 and 12, yung growth spurt is is super laki na. For example, nung 10 years old siya, I only see him as this for 7. But when he turns 11 years old, I mean a year or two after namin magkita, nasa 5'2 na siya, 5'3 na siya. Especially sa mga lalaki. So, it's like really shocking, but it should be expected. The growth spurt should be expected during this stage. We also have the balance, the coordination of the child, and knowing, alam niyo yung yung larong ninja mission, something like that. Yung tatalon-talon yung mga bata sa mga makikipot na mga patungan, tapos magtatalon sila into another one, tas mas makipot din or maliit din, ganun, mapayat. So it's that they are able to balance themselves into things na tinatapakan nila. Other could be yung larong piko. We are all aware of that game, diba? Where there is like a 7 steps, and 7 or 8 depends on the player, diba? Ayun, so sometimes there are steps where a single foot or like a foot should only be or like basically tinatapakan, isang foot lang yung tatapakan, or like gagamitin pantapak yon. Sorry for that. It's like their skills to hop using only a feet, or using only 1 feet or 1 foot. Sorry for that grammar lapses. Yan. The fourth one would be the cardio. Since children are playing outside, their stamina and their cardio should be, developing. For example, if a 6-year-old could run 100 meters, for example lang ha, later on, magpo-progress yun na magpo-progress by meters. Kunyari, 6 years old could run 100 meters. 7 years old could run 200 meters. 8 years old could run 250 meters. Something like that. It's progressing. And it's also developing their cardio and stamina. The fifth one would be their physical skills. Dancing. Ayan, we're talking about dancing again. Also, could be like sa habulan. Learning how to run fast. That's a skill. Another could be, alam mo yun, parang mga binabalik-balik kung ganyan, arms and feet and such. I'm gonna give an example, but don't make fun of me. It's like this. Ginagawa sila ng bata. Most of the time, kasi, I don't know if bored sila or they just like to do that kind of stuff. But, they are doing that because each time they grow a muscle mass, I mean, their muscle mass increases every year. So, on their overall appearance naman, which is the last bullet, it's basically like the whole appearance of a child. Yun nga, sabi mo kanina, growth spurt, it could also be associated with this physical development. So, if nung grade 1 sila is payat, grade 2 tumangkad, grade 3 tumaba, grade 4 lumaki pareho, grade 5 pumayat ulit, tapos tumangkad because they're turning into adolescence na. They are preparing to advance for the adolescence period. So, nagpo-progress siya. It's not basically like addition of weight because like addition of height and addition of like hormones is inevitable and is constantly growing or developing, diba? But weight is not, it's not constant. Maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down, maybe it goes wide, maybe it goes narrow. So it's that physical appearances changes over time. That's what I'm gonna say about physical development of middle childhood. So ayun, it's my last part of the report. We're gonna have Miss Jenny to present the development of the middle childhood.